The 4 games we were fortunate to have at the World Cup, really proud moments to walk out, and whether you're playing or you're part of the coaching staff, to stand there and represent the country and be proud to do that. They're huge moments because we have good players, so we're going to prepare ourselves as well as we can do for those 2 games.
I'm Connor Clemens, I'm here with TotalFootball New Zealand, and we are outside the football house at Albany in North Harbour Stadium, where at the moment the New Zealand football staff and Des Buckingham, the under-23s coach, are putting together the squad to go to the Olympics.
We've had 27 players in camp this week who've all been pushing for inclusion into that squad, and I've been sitting here this morning making phone calls to all 27 to let them know the outcome of where we're at on this occasion.
It's much better to do it by phone rather than email, right?
You know, it does take time, but it's more important to me that the relationships we have and the connections we have with the players that ultimately have given up their time to come and want to represent their country. A phone call is the minimum we deserve, because again, it comes back to it's not just about being ready for the Olympic campaign, but they may become the player that pushes over the next 12 months for inclusion into the Tokyo should we get there. So again, we want them to want to come back, and that's a big part to that.
What's it like being in the New Zealand national setup? I mean, you've been through a lot of the grades now.
Yeah.
What's it like being here again?
Yeah, these environments are my favourite, you know. You get fed 3 times a day, you get to chill, and then you train. Des was the assistant coach in India with the All Whites, so other than that, it's my first proper, as him as the head coach, it's my first proper interaction with him, and I've loved it so far.
It's a clear path, so if you're part of the 17s, you know, it's very similar to maybe the 20s. It's not like you're part of the 17s and you go to the 20s and then 23s and it's just all completely different. You know, it's very similar in the structure, which is, you know, I think it's a good thing.
It was the message of it's not a cycle. It's not a start and an end, so the end of the traditional cycle would have been at the end of the 20s World Cup. It's more a journey, and in this case it's a longer term journey where one campaign is finished, but it's also filtered into another one. So the 23s in this case is that instance. So a lot of the structures and the framework that we've built over the last 18 months with that 20s have transitioned through now into the 23s to help us be ready for the Olympic qualifiers.
The overall culture that you're trying to develop, what can you explain more about what you've put in place?
In our playing style, we have 2 real statements. One talks about a superior team culture, and the second talks about traditional Kiwi strength. So I was really keen to delve a bit deeper and find out what they actually were. And so from the culture side of things, we went on a more traditional kind of marae approach, and how that process worked throughout the week, and I thought could be hugely useful in the sporting context, and in particular our 20s campaign, because we had 21 players coming from 9 different environments, and we want to bring them together as quickly as possible. But it's enabled us to enhance our on-field performance, which is what it's all about as well. We are now a team that out-possesses, out-passes, out-shoots. The same processes happen now for the 23s. I expect, and we will continue to see our players play that way, be brave. We have good players. We need to create a real positive and supportive environment for them to play within, and then trust them. Because again, it's important when we have these games that you trust them to go and do what we've all agreed and said that we will do, because we're capable.
Touching into New Zealand culture has been a fantastic thing for me personally. It's really helped me feel a part of New Zealand. Working with Des has been great, such a professional coach. Trying to add value to his setup and the organisation has been a really, really exciting challenge. And
how many camps have you been a part of now where all these players have come in and you've kind of moulded them and got them into this team culture?
This was the 3rd camp. You know, we had the World Cup itself and then the Pacific Games, which we continued and had more time to work with players. To see the progress that's been made and the impact that it's actually had on performance, and not just performance, the connectivity, the relationships, and everything else that's been formed. And the whole point was, when we go away and we spend a lot of time away from this country, it's to give a bit more understanding and meaning behind the Fern and what it means to represent the Fern and your country, and making people aware that when they sing the anthem, and they sang it in Māori at the World Cup, it's their understanding of why they are proud to represent New Zealand. And for a lot of them, it's the understanding of they play for their mum and their dad. It's the understanding of where they grew up, and giving them a bit of a deeper meaning. So although they're away from New Zealand, they understand and they know what they represent as part of New Zealand being away from here.
This is a long-term project, you've said it before. How much more do you see this going on? How influential could it be?
I've been here 5 years and not far away from going for citizenship, but again, I'm still an English guy trying to delve into an area that's not something that I've traditionally grown up with. So I didn't want to start something and that be cut short. So New Zealand football were supportive and said it was something they would continue to support. And again, something I see having a real key influence on certainly the 20s and now the 23s. My job continues, and I'll continue to try and do the best I can for New Zealand football and players in this country.